Shalom Yisrael. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that passed on, serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. To you sisters who believe, keep encouraging and supporting your brothers who are here teaching His truth. And always commemorate the sister who washed Yahweh Shai feet when you read the scriptures. Salak. So, I basically kind of have to give an update about a few months ago, like maybe 2 months ago, maybe even 3 months ago. I got the news that a brother who was one of my original teachers when I came in this truth has passed. Had 2 weeks to live. And since then, I thought that things were going to go well because I spoke to his ex-wife, and she said that he's fighting, he's taking natural medicines, of course, but then I spoke to another brother who's a close friend of his, and he was like, nah, it's anything but that. He's terrible, but he's fighting. He was hanging on. He hung on as long as he could. So, I just got the call 2 nights ago that the man passed away. So he hung on, he fought for months. He was given 2 months to live, but passed away now. Now, what I want to be clear about is that this man was one of my original teachers. I know he doesn't, truth of the matter is, I can't lie. He did some stuff that, because of his belief, he started believing other things that weren't what we believe in. And literally went off, went basically back in the world. Fuck basically, he went back in the world. I don't want to sugarcoat it because the man passed away. I want to be honest. As much as, y'all know me, I always try to protect people's legacy. Once somebody died, we don't need to talk about the bad that they did unless we're doing it for a cautionary tale. But the cautionary tale was, you fell out the truth because people that were younger than you in the truth, that were younger than me in the truth at the time, brought a doctrine to you. Well, one of them was actually older than me too, but younger than you. Brought you some doctrines, and you started believing it. And this is the problem with doctrines, is it starts with, you give a little here, you give a little there. All right, the nation shall be saved. All right, the Immaculate Conception. Next thing you know, you're a full-blown fucking Catholic. And for some of the people that were part of that fallout, that it was a split, right? For some of the people that were part of that, they literally went back to the Christian and Catholic Church. Because you start with one doctrine, like I said, you start with the nation shall be saved. Then you start with it, then you go to the virgin birth. Then you start questioning, hey, there's other information out here debunking the Hebrew doctrine that's not information that is real. You stop using your wisdom and understanding, and you just say, hey, you know what, I'm reading this at face value. You read some shit called the Book of the Church Fathers. You start, oh, Israelites created Catholicism, so let's follow Catholicism. Well, Israelites created everything good and bad in this world. That don't mean we follow everything bad or anything bad. You know, if I told you the first Israelite ever committed suicide or something, like the first person to commit suicide was Israelite, would you commit suicide? Like, you know what I'm saying? We come with these stupid doctrines. The first skydiver was a black man, so now all of a sudden motherfuckers want to skydive. You know, that's how stupid y'all get with y'all doctrines. But, you know, this video is not to tear the man down after he's passed away. You know, the truth of the matter is, despite what he believed in after the fact, I'm going to talk about about two and a half, maybe 2 years with the brother, Makapash. You know, he's one of those people that, you know, when you see documentaries, when somebody passed away that everybody loved, you know, and every single person has a different story for why they love him so much. That's Makapash. Everybody at the time loved Makapash. When he was, you know, at least when I was around with that church, because if y'all don't remember, I left that church to go to the House of Israel, you know, because I wasn't happy, but didn't have nothing to do with him. You know, in fact, he was a real good brother, really good brother, I'll say. One of the better brothers at the Church of Israel when I was around. I don't know what he became after I left. I've heard stories, I've heard things, but as a person, my personal dealings with that brother, always solid, always looking out. One of those people that'll give you the shirt off their back. In fact, there were a lot of lessons taught that he didn't directly teach me that I learned simply by observing. You know, I hate going on 22. But anyway, simply by observing the way the man operated, you know, I saw how he was. He was very kind. You know, he's very well known in North too, man. I'll tell you, there's people outside the faith that knew him that since he's passed away, I've seen so many shout outs to him from people that I know. We had a lot of mutual friends that I didn't know about. It's crazy how somebody die and then oh shit, you know him? I called my man Tariq yesterday because he posted him on the page. I was like, I didn't know you knew him. Oh yeah. And then the funny part was he said if he hears anything about the funeral arrangements, he'll tell me. I'm like, nigga, I might be the plug on that information. You know, but his ex-wife posted him yesterday, said that he beat Big Daddy Kane in a battle before, which is very possible. I think he said it. I think he mentioned that before. Didn't get a record deal out of it, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But you know, like I said, man, aside from the doctrine stuff, that, like I said, I wasn't around him for that. I never spoke to him about the doctrine because I hardly ever spoke to him. When I left HYK, a couple of years later, that's when they started with that doctrine shit. But truth of the matter is, man, you know, there's doctrine, there's doctrine, and then there's content of character. Although if the doctrine doesn't match up, if you don't believe in the truth and live by the truth, your content of character means shit. I mean, there's Christians that are solid people. There's Muslims and Fapa centers and Pastafarians. Believe it or not, there's a fucking doctrine called Pastafarian. And Rastafarians. There's all types of people with different beliefs that are solid people. And this is where he falls in, because he is a solid person, or was. It was the doctrine that was his big flaw, that possibly or likely is what really took him out. Because if I could tell you he died from cancer, but you know, all things are spiritual. Just like Chief Gabar used to always say, everything is spiritual. I don't know if he knows how serious I took that phrase every time he said it. Because we definitely had laughs about the fact that he wouldn't stop saying that shit. Said it on repeat, but it is all spiritual. He died of cancer, but what did he really die of? No, he was in the truth. Solid brother, converted so many people. He really did teach a lot of people that came in. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the brother Yahweh Tzaim may have came in through his teachings. And, you know, he practices it to this day. But no, that Makapash had a big impact on a lot of people. And that's why, in passing, so many people love him. Even people in the world. Like I said, my man Tariq. Matter of fact, somebody else posted him today. So, oh, Tahim, my boy Tahim. It's like, damn, yo, like, in life, while he lived, I never knew he knew all these people. I should have knew, because he was very popular when he was in the world. But Salak. But yeah, man, he's the best I could tell you is, being a kind-hearted person is not good enough to save you out of this captivity. Knowing the truth, you got to live by the truth. You can't be swayed by doctrines, because that's your responsibility. It's like you being a fucking accountant for $1 billion corporation, and you sign over the rights to somebody else, and now that corporation is hemorrhaging money because you signed it over. You might be a nice person, great, but your lack of being thorough caused the company to have a failure. So it's the same thing. This brother is a really good, he was I'm telling you, anybody that was around him, you know that the content of his character, he was a good person, right? A good-hearted person. The best of intentions. But look how he went out. And that's the cautionary tale I could give y'all. You can be a kind-hearted person. That's why I think I'm kind-hearted, but I don't think that's enough. Because if you think about it, people that are kind-hearted, that don't believe in the truth, are great at attracting people to whatever they believe in. So if you're a great Rastafari, great person, and you happen to be a Rastafarian, what you're doing is leading people, you're drawing people to Rastafarianism, because with all the cruelty that there is in this world, people are going to be attracted to kindness. So what's to say somebody's on the fence about what they believe in, and they start coming around you and seeing how kind you are and looking up to you, but wait a minute, he's a Rastafarian, so maybe I need to look into this. Because I always tell brothers, man, this is one thing I always have told brothers. The knowledge that we preach will gather as many brothers. It'll gather thousands. But brotherhood is what keeps brothers. Being a brother, being kind-hearted, loving your brother and sister, and making sure they're good. They'll remember, because there's so few people in this world that give a fuck about each other. So you gotta think, okay, this person actually cares about me, you know? So if you do that, if you're that kind of person, but you're not in the truth, or you were in the truth and then you stayed that kind person, but you left the truth, now you got people that were following you in the truth that are going to follow you out of it. The Lord can't be, I mean, the Lord can do whatever you want, but I can't imagine the Lord being happy with that. You was in the truth. You saluted brothers in the name. You fell out the truth. Now, you're always been a kind person. Now, I'm also going to say this because this is really an RIP video, but at the same time, you know, it does kind of sound like I'm talking bad about him. This is a cautionary tale. When somebody dies, you want to know what do you learn about life to apply to your life from the way other people live their lives. I have to say what I'm saying, but don't get it twisted. The man was kind. All I'm saying is kind isn't good enough. When you're in this truth, and it's sad, I'm not going to tell y'all I'm not sad. I'm not broken up. I'm not in, you know, the brother that called me and told me the news, I could tell he was fighting back tears. And I was waiting for that call. Honestly, I've been waiting for that call for months. Not like I'm looking forward to it, but I'm like, I'm going to get that call. And the cops are wilding on the fucking parkway today. They're pulling everybody the fuck over. But anyway. I mean, there's nothing more I could say. You know, the brother got me a job. The brother taught me the scriptures. He wasn't the only one, but he was one of my original teachers. You know, you're always going to have love for somebody that did that for you. When you're in the spirit of gratitude, because I'm a very grateful brother, believe it or not. Anytime anybody ever does anything for me, and maybe that's to a fault, but I'm always gonna have some form of gratitude, right? So maybe you only did one favor for me. Yeah, there's people that did a ton of favors for me that, of course, there's more gratitude because there's more, you know, done for me. But a person who taught me scriptures, who shaped the way I think now, even when they fall out, I'm thankful for that. I'm not telling you don't say nothing bad about them. I'm telling you I'm not going to say nothing bad about them other than things that are just blatantly true. You know, but I'm always going to have a spirit of, wow, that brother got me a job. Even though that job wasn't, you know, it didn't work out for me. And I kind of had to quit because it's like, it's making less money, honestly. I had a job already, but he hooked me up with another one, and I'm like, all right, I'll make this my primary. Started making less money. I had to go back, practically crawling, not literally crawling. No, I just told them my availabilities opened up. But anyway, you know, now he's in a better place, no suffering, and you know, now he has a better focal point of knowing the full truth. Because even in the version of the truth that he was in, they didn't believe in the lunar Sabbath. They believed in the Friday sundown, Saturday sundown. So now he's 100%. All the questions that he had, all that nation shall be saved, you're realizing now that Paul went to the Israelite Gentiles. And all the things that you question in this earth are now reconciled for him because he's in the spirit world, where now you see the result of all of it in the spirit world. You know, but with that, again, rest in peace to Machapa Shamath. I believe he went by the name Maccapesh because they started believing in modern Hebrew. But again, very, very good brother, very solid brother. But when you're in this life, it's one thing to be a kind person, but it's a whole nother thing to, what you believe in and how you live your life is also important. Charity does wipe away a multitude of sins, but it don't wipe them all away. If you're sinning more than you're charying, what I'm saying? Like, at what point do you think the Lord is going to say, nah, fuck that? But shalom.